It's March the 3rd, 2020, and you know why you're here. So let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a PvP Padawan.
Hey guys, I'm Andallyn.
And I'm Windstead, and welcome to Technically PvP.
Indeed.
So
I'm so excited, guys. I'm so excited. It's Christmas.
I wonder why that is. Gerissar, why don't you tell us why you're so excited?
I'm okay. Sorry. Whew. Gotta
Breathe.
We have a special guest. So hey, we have Cody here from Twitch TV over. You know, I could try. I'm probably just gonna stumble over my words. Cody, why don't you tell everybody about yourself so that I don't sound like a fool?
Howdy. So I'm Cody. If you guys frequent the WoW Arena streams, you've probably seen me around. I go by Vole on Twitch. I'm an account director at Twitch. Sort of run what we colloquially call the esports partnerships team here, and I'm a WoW fiend. So I'm excited to be here too.
I like how you use the word fiend. Yeah.
Oh, it is a like vicious addiction. Yes.
Just sink your teeth in and suck out all the PvP goodness.
Oh yeah, it's
right.
If there's a arena stream live, I'm there. I play way more than a man my age should. It is bad. It is bad, and that's why I'm here.
That's right.
Well,
that is excellent.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here for sure too, because man, especially with all the stuff that's happening over at Twitch and with esports stuff, I think it's pertinent that you be here and we can talk about that stuff. But before we start that, let's first talk about what's been going on with everybody since our last show. So actually, I'm going to start with you, Cody. What have you been up to the last 2 weeks?
So I am getting ready to have my first kid. So that's been dominating a lot of my time. I've been squeezing in WoW as best I can. I'm an alt fiend, so I'm slowly coming to terms with the fact that lifestyle is probably going to have to change here pretty soon. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm heads down on right now is making a smaller version of me with my wife.
IRL alts, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
My strong recommendation is you get yourself a nice mouse with all the extra buttons on the side. If you can just learn to map a couple of movement keys onto your mouse, then holding the baby with one hand while moving around and doing your basic rotations is not too terrible.
Okay, I appreciate that. My wife Ellen has done a excellent job of letting me know that the clock is ticking. So whatever tools or resources are available to make the most out of fatherhood and gaming, I'm on board.
Yes,
I actually remember with my first child, I max leveled out fishing in Burning Crusade while holding my baby and propping up the swaddling cloth to hold the bottle just in her mouth properly. And then it's like the only thing I could do because I didn't have a multi-button most of the time. So yeah.
Professions. It could be the time to max out professions.
Yeah.
Might as well. I mean, it's not like you're going to get max level essences on all your alts. So,
yeah. I wasn't doing that without the baby.
Sore spot there.
Yeah, that was impossible without the baby. So with the baby,
right.
very unlikely.
Exactly. All right. Well, Andallyn, how about you? What have you been up to these last couple weeks?
Thanks for that one, Gerissar. I've been doing a lot, man. So one of the things that we've yet to kind of unravel here on the show, but maybe we've alluded to in one way, shape, or form or another. But so as we're going to talk a little bit more about Method's channel and how that's kind of tying in here. So I've been Method Andallyn since January 4th. And it's been a wild ride, and I have enjoyed it heavily. And we've been putting on lots of PvP content. We've been we've been producing all sorts of different shows. We had a show yesterday, kind of pilot and air for the first time, featuring Jay the Bard, along with Mr. GM and Martin Creek. It was wonderful. They brought in Josh Petersdorf, the voice of Roadhog, and in the voice of Optimus Prime and Mechagon, or not Mechagon, Megatron, and so many others.
Can you imagine Megatron and Megagon?
Yeah, right.
That'd be kind of fun.
It's like Inception. It's like a meme or something. Megatron and Mechagon. Yes.
That dungeon just took a whole other meaning to me.
Yeah, right.
So that's
It's
awesome.
like,
Wow.
You've heard of
yeah,
Elf
you've been,
on a
like, super
Shelf,
busy.
but get ready for.
Yeah. Have you seen Mechatron on a shelf?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Now I'm just thinking of all those Elf on the Shelf memes with all the not
yeah, they're
safe for
funny.
work ones.
Why are we talking about Christmas?
I don't know.
That's
It's just kind of
twice.
Because he made the earlier reference that with Cody here, it's like Christmas.
Yeah, but that's
Yes.
twice in like 6 minutes, boys. What's going on?
Yeah.
That's because both of you have subconsciously kind of linked up on the whole Christmas thing, and I'm just sitting back here looking very red and green at the same
Yikes.
time.
Yeah.
Because doing
Ah,
that to me. So it's just
There's
we've
the
just tied it all up
subconscious
in a
thinking.
nice
now
little
it
bow.
makes sense.
There you go.
But
Oh my god. Yeah, only 9 months till Christmas. Thanks, Dunkirk.
But all right, so
Resident
I've
Santa.
been I've been digging deep into the mechanics of the game the past
Yes,
couple of
you have.
weeks.
Yeah.
Such as guys, did you know that if you strip your character down naked, all characters, unless they have specific racial bonuses, have the same stats? Like if you're a warrior, a mage, a monk, you all have the same base stats at about 1,400, and I believe it's like 46
Yeah. 46
intellect or
47.
strength, depending on your class. If you're an intellect or a strength-based class, you all have 2,000 or 20,020 health because you have 1,001 stamina. And then all of your other secondary stats are either non-existent or you have certain racial abilities that boost those. And so you do have some secondary stats. And I've been trying to investigate how much percentile stronger you need to be against somebody to, one, utterly smash them, and two, still be beatable. And Gerissar and I had a fun night the other night where I took a frost mage against a warrior, and I believe it was 30%. It's not, but when you give him 30% more stats,
Yeah. It actually became fair.
then it became fair. And then
He's
when
gotta touch you for it to become fair.
Well, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
if he's
no,
got...
and he as at 30% more stats, if he did make contact with me, and I'm by no means a perfect frost mage because I haven't played the class in almost 2 years. I mean, it was mid legion. Mid legion is when I stopped playing my frost mage, and this is the first time I've really touched it since I capped him. But and so it was very fun to see. At 30%, a warrior can smash a frost mage and outplay him. Okay. And then we did warlock versus frost mage. And that was interesting because, again, about that 30% mark, the frost mage could kill the warlock. But at parity, especially with Gerissar just being so much more practiced on the class from the past couple of years.
I haven't played my warrior.
Isn't that your main? No, your warlock. When you switch to your warlock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you switch to your warlock, it was very apparent that he had just a lot more skill on that class than I had currently on my frost mage. But at 30%, I could beat him. And so there's this interesting dynamic where I'm trying to build a PvP system that revolves around percentile power rather than gearing. And I'm getting close to being ready to present that to Blizzard.
So where does the actual scaling of gear turn into this? Because that's also another big thing that Zaryu.
Well, and that's where, and that's where we've kind of talked about this a little bit before on the show. This idea that gear becomes irrelevant, and it's all about your prestige level per season. And then I was trying to figure out where to cap your prestige level and what percentile stronger you should be comparative to a brand new player in PvP. And Gerissar and I both kind of settled after playing around with different classes and specs and everything else that about 30% stronger gives you the feeling, if you're facing a brand new character, that you will just absolutely dominate them if you are capable in your class. But if they are better than you, they can still win, if that makes sense. And then if you have counter classes like we did, where I did Frost Mage versus Warrior, and then Warlock versus Frost Mage, it does make it possible to win in a counter class, but not what's the proper way I'm looking to say this? It's not impossible to lose.
It's not likely.
Not likely. Yeah. No.
okay.
That I mean, at 30% stronger, you should be
30%
able
of
to
what?
beat everything. Your primary intellect stat.
Okay, but
Your primary stat.
But that's all a function of item level, isn't it?
Currently, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So what I'm saying is how have you taken actual gear scaling into it? Because if I'm 450 item level and I hit you with a greater
because
I hit you with a fireball.
We took both our characters completely naked, and then added only gear needed to reach the percentile boost of the base stat.
We were gearing just for increase.
So when he did his warrior, he only equipped one piece of gear, and that gave him a 30% strength increase over baseline naked.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we played against each other like 10, 15 matches and duels to see how that felt.
So what did you find out? 30% was about how many item level?
20 to 40 for like 0 to, for the one piece of gear, it took him up to about 40 item levels. And I mean, currently right now, Andallyn,
I can't remember what it was.
If I have a naked character versus, and I had a spreadsheet with the most geared discipline priest of my spec. Okay. So most geared discipline priest versus my naked discipline priest, they are literally 10 times as powerful as I am. 100% increase on all damage output if you are the highest geared discipline priest in PvP right now versus your naked character. And in my geared state,
I'm still not convinced, because how do you still get that? Because that's what you may see, but what's actually happening is not
I'll show you the
more effective than what you thought.
I'll show you the spreadsheets, because I broke it down. Basically, your intellect, and guys, we're technically PvP, and I'm really interested in this process. So basically, your base stat, whatever it's strength, intellect, or agility, whatever your base attack is,
sure.
There's a modifier that you times that by to get the amount of damage or healing that you do.
Right.
Okay. I went through and found out the modifier for my Disc Priest and for Gerissar's Warrior. So I know exactly when I push Holy Nova, the magic number that it's multiplying times my intellect to equal my damage output.
Sure.
And then I can take that modifier times the equipment and stat level of the highest level discipline priest, and I can see how much more powerful they are compared to me.
So I think I know what you're saying, and I know what you're saying.
There's a huge amount of black box in between there.
Yeah.
Because what you think is that it just goes around, but actually goes through that black box, and that completely messes up everything. You're gonna have to do some more testing on that, because what'll come across your screen and say, "Wow, I just did 10 times more than what I thought I did." You actually, in reality, didn't do that, because
Gerissar did.
Character,
because
guys. So
I'll show you the spreadsheet later.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's
look at it.
I think I was pretty thorough in my efforts.
Good.
And the math was working.
Yeah.
Because we did it at a 10-point increase, a 20-point increase, and a 30-point increase.
Right, but in order to do so, did you also? You'd also have to go 10 to 0, and then also test at 10-point increase with equalized item level across.
So we're missing one piece here, and I know what you're saying, Andallyn, because you're talking about the gear scaling that's on the backside of the current game as it is, if you're playing against each other. So yes, that is a factor. What we're using, though, is we're using the gear scaling and the damage increases against the test dummy, the PvP test dummy, to see what the actual values were coming out on the combat log, and then that's what was used to create the. Now, mind you, there was some assumptions there, because we only did up to 30 points of increase in main stat, and then assumed that went linearly all the way to 120.
Sure. Okay.
Or to 450 or whatever your current gear stat is, right? So,
and it does look like, versatility plays a factor, which I haven't been able to calculate out, and different stats like that. But your baseline attack damages off of your intellect, stamina, strength, strength, and agility seem very consistent, especially when I put on my main set gear and did the math, and I was within 100 damage points of my 420 eye level versus my 0 eye level.
Yeah.
So
which
is
kind of that
randomness
they put in the gear anyway.
Yeah.
Or
So that was my past couple of weeks. So let's get moving on.
Yeah. All right. So thankfully, I haven't really been that active in WoW, other than I want to do a quick shout out to a player called Zen over in the EU. He contacted me through the Discord, and we were chatting back and forth, DMing. And he actually had a max level druid over on the NA servers. So one night he got on, he's like, "Hey, let's game." I'm like, "All right, I'm up for it." And so we did some twos together, which was really interesting because we were doing Feral Druid Warlock, Destrolock, and that it kind of worked a couple times. But I want to give a shout out to him because he carried me hard.
I was going to ask how his back was after said scenario.
Yeah, he should have been a bear for how much he was carrying me. It was it's pretty bad. All right. Well, let's move on to, since we've talked about what we've been up to, let's get into the next segment and do our need, greed, and pass.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
Yeah, so let's get into it. So
This is awesome.
I have actually been the one.
It's your turn.
Who it is the baton, the gauntlet has come to me. So I actually I wasn't entirely sure what to do for this one, but after a little bit of time, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to make a little bit of an appeal towards some of our more RP type of style players and go that route. So I wanted to change it up a little bit on the need, greed, pass. So basically for everyone here and for Cody, for your information on this, because you're involved in this as well, my man. So don't think you get a free pass on this one.
No, I'm excited.
So how it works is what we'll do is we'll give you a scenario such as like, what is the best buffalo chicken flavored wing? Is it honey barbecue? Is it hot wing? Or is it like ranch or something like that? And you
mango habanero.
Yeah, right. Mango habanero or something. Asian zing, right? But you got to tell us which one you're going to need on, which one you're going to greed on, and which one you're going to pass on. So they have to be the three options we give you have to be in some order that you choose as being the most superior order choice of your need, greed, and pass. So are you guys ready?
Ready when you are.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to need you to close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay.
This sounds like a bad idea.
Well, it is RP inspired, so we need to get in the right mindset.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Don't worry.
We need to get some Gold Shower music playing in the background.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Okay.
Scuffed production. Okay. All right. Sylvanas. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The sky shatters. The heavens come crashing down through the ethers, and you look up to witness the spectacle in the sky of the yellowy shards of the once was realm. But wait, a blinding light casts down. You dare peek up to see what radiance is shining through, to no use. Champion, echoes a booming, commanding voice. This day, you must forge the factions of the new world, a new realm. Open your eyes. You look around and suddenly notice the radiant light is gone. 3 choices lay ahead of you, and you must now, in a new world, choose who you want to accompany you in forging a new faction, transcending the Alliance and the Horde.
Oh.
Okay, before you are 3 options. Gentlemen, you have the mighty Thrall, the once was peasant, now hero of the Horde. Mm-hmm. You have Medivh. And you also have Lorewalker Cho. Need, greed, pass on who is forging the alliance of the new world with you.
Ooh.
You want to go paint you a picture.
All right.
Yeah. I've got this one pretty straightforward.
Right.
Because let's face it, in the history of World of Warcraft, there has been only one person who has successfully orchestrated a successful alliance of Horde and Alliance.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And that was Medivh. So I would have to need Medivh, greed Thrall, and pass on Lord Walker Cho.
Lord Walker Cho did as
What?
well, I will tell you.
Yeah.
How long did it last? But here's the thing. When Medivh did it,
one raid
it
tier.
lasted
Look it up.
5 years. With Medivh, he was successful for, was it 5 or 10 years after the fall of the Legion, the first round in Warcraft 3. It was 5 years of peace. Okay, Lord Walker Cho made it a raid tier. So I'm just saying, I think Medivh has a better track record. Thrall, I just like because he's a great character.
Right.
Shout out to Chris Metzen.
But bear in
Lord
mind.
Walker Cho, I have just found annoying.
Ooh.
No way.
Bear in mind that you don't know
Gauntlet is
what
down.
you're going into. It might behoove you to have someone who's a little bit more powerful or not.
Have you read any of the lore books? Medivh's the mother effing guardian, dude.
He was.
He is the most powerful of this. Absolutely.
So I mean, okay.
Well, I'm not speaking to you, Windstead, in your list. I'm just throwing it out there in terms of how people decide to rank their choices.
Yeah.
So I mean,
while we're discussing this, I want to throw this out to the chat room, the Twitch chat, and also to the listeners. So chat room, by all means, chat away about what your choices are for Deep Greed and Pass on the same three. And anybody listening right now as well, by all means, send in your emails to technicallypvp@gmail.com or tweet us on Twitter about what your needing Greed and Pass are. I think it looks like Cody's still thinking, so I'm going to go ahead and say what my choices are. I'm going to go with need on Lord Walker Cho. I love pandas. I like beer, and so do they. So hey,
match made in heaven.
Yeah, exactly. And I always like to stay a while and listen. So it's he's always pleasant to listen to, and I can totally listen to him because it's a great voice. This is where I'm going to have a problem. So there's a certain part of me, because I've played so much Alliance, that Thrall, amongst everything that he's done for Azeroth, is still Horde. So my alliance bias is going to come through here, and I'm going to pick Medivh for Greed, because I mean, really, former Guardian or not, like that guy, you're right, he's super powerful. Like if there's anybody that could walk across those ethers into the unknown and be able, and I know that we're going to be able to be safe, it's with him. So long as he keeps that crazy demon inside of his head at bay and doesn't go.
It's no longer there. We're good. It was resolved.
And I'm going to put Thrall on the pass.
I still think you're wrong with Lord Walker Cho.
I don't care what you think.
I mean, because Lord Walker Cho just cried for help. He was, oh no, we have problems. We need help.
That's because he works with other people. He works together. He's not a loner like Medivh or Thrall.
Medivh just gets stuff done, though.
Exactly.
I mean,
Lord
so
does Cho.
Help me.
So does Cho.
Help me.
I don't know.
Listen.
Cho's pretty. He's pretty BA too, though. All right. Cody, what are your choices?
So I would put my man Thrall number one.
There
right?
it is.
Orc racial. He's getting out of stuns faster, right? I know.
That's right.
He can run PvP trinket and still get out of stuns 20% faster, right?
Oh, he's not going to do Orc Relentless?
No. They fixed that in BFA. You couldn't stack him anymore. It was a glorious expansion though, where I'm sitting kidney shots for like 3 seconds. We'd slide Medivh into Greed, not necessarily because of any profound appreciation for his talents, but actually because I skipped all of Pandaria, so I have like such little exposure to Lord Walker Cho except for the occasional time walking. I missed this like huge chunk, like despite everyone telling me that MoP was an incredible PvP expansion, which is really the only reason I play the game. So I have like no FaceTime with him, right? And so he could be a solid bet, but I'm going with what I'm familiar with. So we're going with our man Thrall, who's never really let me down personally. Medivh, I have some my earliest Warcraft experiences, I was getting some one-on-one time with him, getting to know him a little bit, and then the big question mark is our friend the lore walker. So that's my need greed pass.
Nice.
Oh, fair.
I like it.
I like it.
Mine's gonna be somewhat similar. So
Really?
yeah, I'm going with Thrall as my need. I'm gonna need on Thrall, and here's why. All right.
Because you're a Horde fanboy?
No.
Oh, okay.
Medivh,
Because he was played by Medivh to do exactly what Medivh wanted.
No. See, and that's great. But the what I'm supposed to be doing is I need to forge alliances here, not command alliances, right? So
Okay.
I'm going with Thrall because I consider myself somewhat of a diplomat, right? So I want to have somebody who's going to be able to, having once been a castaway slave, someone who's going to be able to reason with likely that they're slaves or some kind of lowlings in this new world, that I'm going to hopefully cast a wider net. You catch my drift on this? Yeah, this is the 5-head.
I see what you're saying. I just think Medivh did it better.
Sure, that's fine. I think I don't want to come in busting out, drop it, slapping it on the table with Medivh. That's all great. We can do that. But I want to be a little bit more subtle. That's why I'm going to need on Thrall.
Okay.
I'm going to greed on Medivh, and I'm going to pass on old Lore Walker Cho.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You can just choke on that when Cho comes out ahead in the. It's all right.
It's all good. He's got to find a way to. He's got to find a way to stay relevant in every expansion. So.
Which is why he's calling for help out at the Four Winds Valley.
Very possibly.
Right now, he's leading up the invasions. He's still calling for help. Not leading. Just
he's
asking
up
for
in the
help.
ivory tower reading scrolls.
Yeah, because knowledge is power.
Power is power.
Oh, it's not.
Anyway, on from Need Greed Pass.
Yes, please. Let's get into the upcoming WoW PvP events.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
Yes, let's do it.
This is so. Not hearing that is so
I know,
awkward.
right? Isn't it?
All right.
I'm
So
gonna find a way to
we're going to put the standard things. We got the challenge.com for what's going on with the World of Warcraft esports. There's been quite a bit of stuff going on lately. The last few days. So really kind of surprised how often people are doing little events on that still. But it's there. Definitely still keeping an eye out for Andallyn Gaming, still doing his 5v5 1v1s. But let's talk quickly. We're going to skip over Flark stuff because he's not doing it right now, but we'll talk about the Method Mayhem series. So there's the two tournaments that just happened the last couple weeks, which were really interesting because that was on live servers. But now that the TR realm is up, I hear that the next ones are going to be on the TR realm. So we have NA. The second week is starting on the 7th of March. EU is starting on the 13th of March. And then on the 21st and 27th is going to be the NA and EU finals, respectively. And there's no signups on that because that's based off of who won the previous tournaments, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we're running the seeding based off of how teams did in the previous tournaments, right? Kind of like how seeds typically work.
Exactly.
Yep, that's the plan. And of course, we are very excited about having tournament realm access. I'm very excited to see how far we can push the limits on corruption. Because we are going to be allowing people to do whatever combinations of corruptions they want. So I'm sure it will get interesting. So
I'm pretty excited about this. This is because TR Realm has some different aspects on how they can corrupt things. So it's a little bit less random, which is going to be very interesting to see how this works out.
It's going to be nice for folks to sort of have that sandbox, right? So I appreciated the live
Exactly.
tournaments just because I play on live, right? This is the world I live in. So it was nice to see folks sort of really pushing that live server experience as far as they can. But you know, seeing what players are capable of when they have access to the entire chest of tools, I think is going to be really interesting, right? There are some comps that were maybe viable in the live tournament just based on the gear that people had. And it'd also be really interesting to see if there's like anything that, you know, creative that maybe isn't viable on live that works if you have just the right set of Azurite, just the right set of corruption, with, you know, just the right essences, which we were lamenting are so difficult to, not difficult, but obnoxious to grind. So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Windstead, share with us your thoughts on this.
It just felt like everything was RNG based. You know, I didn't watch the entire tournament because I kind of got fed up with some of the stuff that was going on with the, you know, the stars and your tentacles, and it just like your go revolves around things that you now have no control over. And so it just didn't feel great. I also have felt those things as I've played some PvP where, you know, stars goes off and you just die.
Yep.
You know, and so it just doesn't feel good right now where all this damage is coming from sources that it's not like I even have a counterplay to. You know, because when stars pops, unless I react absolutely immediately.
So
you know,
how many people died from stars or tentacles?
There was a group that completely got decimated because they got caught in tentacles. Wasn't Method Black like completely wiped out because of a random tentacle pop that like got all three of them
in the finals?
Or
against World
not in the
I'm not
finals.
sure if it was. I don't remember. I think it was when they got knocked into the lower bracket
against World Second.
Yeah. During the okay. All right. So normally, although we talk about the news, so yes, there was in the qualifying rounds, there was some random procs that ended up knocking some teams down into the into the lower bracket. But I mean, no offense, this is also the same where there was disc priests that were tossing shields on tentacles to make them last longer to utilize them.
There was there was one really juicy one. So I sort of fall in the middle here. There was one example that really stands out where it was SSDS, Born Good, Psy-Foxyverse, the move, and Born Good, or rather Peekaboo trinkets a Haj to kick Born Good. Born Good gets kicked on Holy, but there also happens to be a tentacle up, and because like Born Good has no Holy Tree, the tentacle just like zaps 30% of his health. That's a very BFA 8.3 issue, right? Born Good, like truly excellent paladin. I like believe he should be on a like pro level AWC team. Despite that, you know, the thousands of hours of experience he has, there's no way that he can ever prepare for like, okay, he's going to trinket my Hodge to kick me. Happen to have his tentacle up right then. So that was like a very, this is 8.3 moment. Because they were doing actually pretty good that game.
Was it too far away to Crusader Strike the Tendy?
I think like in his head it was Tiger's Peak if I'm mistaken, and I think he sort of defaulted to his experience where he was like, okay, let me get out of line of sight, and the tentacle was just on him and just
and there's nothing you can do about that.
No, and my problem is just the randomness of it. Where if the tentacle was a trinket button that you pushed, that would change things. But because it's just, we got random tentacles, or we just got, you know, infinite stars, you know, it's just like, you know, it definitely spices up the gameplay. I just feel that it detracts from the level of skill.
See, but what I find is that the corruption, it leads to just providing you more open windows. And I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I think that there's a happy medium with some of the corruption stuff too, because we saw a lot of teams opt not to play, and rightfully so, even on ladder. Anything over 39 corruption, so they're not dealing with that thing from beyond. Yet you saw a few teams who would, right? And we saw a couple of things from beyond coming from the beyond. So, but what I found was the corruption, the more that you wore, the more windows that kind of created for you where you wouldn't necessarily have a window before, which gave some viability to some things. I would say what actually was killing people was vroom vroom motorcycle trinkets.
That thing was insane how much that was working.
And that's not RNG. That's not random.
No.
But if it does crit, whew, man, there was some spicy 40 to 0s.
I've said what I've said.
Yeah.
That's just
yeah.
But like my thing is I just want to see skill versus skill. And the more random elements you interject into the arenas, I feel that detracts from skill. I mean, because honestly, Method Black is one of the best teams in the world.
Right, but would you consider adaptation something that's on the opposite end of skill?
I would. I think that's
to
a whole
some degree, but
because I feel like in order to be able to adapt requires a flexing or a exercising of skill.
But how do you adapt to things that you have no control over?
That's what literally adapting is.
It's just like
literally what adapting.
But that happened. That actually happened.
Realize that evolution just kills most of the things that evolves, right? I mean, just a very small minority of things actually live to evolve. And this is one of those things where I'm going to be very glad when this system goes away. Because I feel that it really, and especially on live servers where you're trying to grind out these best in slot things, again, it's just taking me more away from PvP into PvE events that I'm forced to play in instead of just focusing on PvP. And so, there's a lot of bias on my part where I want to log in, I want to PvP, I want to be competitive,
I'm the same way.
and I can't because I have to go and do my mythic dungeons, I have to go and do my raids, and I have to pray to the corruption gods that I get the right pieces.
Really, we had to do that for most of the other expansions too. Like PvE gear always had some place in PvP.
Yep, no, and that's why I'm doing lots of math.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I will say though, yes, there were some teams that got knocked down because of corruption. But they did adapt. There's also some games that were pushing 10 minutes. I am happy though that with the corruption and some of the damage and what's going on, the games definitely felt faster.
Yes. Anything that's going to take us out of a dampening meta is a huge. I'm going to be all for that, honestly.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at. So
yeah, I think BFA has been such a bizarre expansion for PvP. It started just so crazy fast. There was like that first month where KFC was just evaporating things, which was fun-ish, right? Because people didn't understand. And then it was like 18 months of just the most slow dampening meta. And now it's just this sort of clown car with corruptions, which
that is a very, very apt description of it. Clown car.
It's a mess, but I've sort of just personally come to terms with it, right? I'm a very average, like 2.4K player. I'm not pro, whether the game is finally
not worthy.
Well, I also play a whole lot of this game, so I kind of like it just because I'm tired of games going to like 70% dampening. I do have my tilt moments. Yesterday I got I was at like 50% and I died in a single Hodge because a Rep Paladin had motorcycle trinket and then like proc wings, and it was just okay.
Yeah.
So that wasn't that fun, but like it's probably generally skews towards being more fun for the casual player than like me getting to 80% dampening.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I prefer games that are, max 12 minutes, not 20 minutes, 80% dampening. And after everybody's done playing NASCAR around the pillar, somebody randomly dies for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because unhealable. So, all right. I have to commiserate with you though, Andallyn, because like you said, since you're doing the backside of these tournaments that our methods are going on, I just checked. So NA, which is Friday, has, if I saw this right, 33 teams signed up.
NA is Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, Saturday and Sunday.
Right now we have predicated on all of them getting tournament realm access and vetting.
25. Yeah.
25. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's applaud worthy. That's better than
I know
some AWC events tail end of last year for sure. So that's hats off.
Yeah, we're hoping that this is a nice segue into our season one, essentially. hopefully is going to be a nice segue with a little bit of break time in between for MDI, for the AWC. So we're stoked, absolutely stoked. It's double elimination, so there's going to be tons of games that we're going to be playing, and we're going to try and put as many as possible and crunch as many as we can into the stream this weekend. So
nice,
really excited about that. We'll be doing the same thing for EU.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, and on that, so the NA is closed, but the EU is still open. So if you're an EU player, get over there. There's a couple teams still pending, but there's 16 teams registered. So yeah, that's gonna be a good time.
And the big event that follows that is the finals in each region, where we're taking essentially the top 16 or 32 teams from each region, and we're doubling the prize pool and doubling the stakes. So
nice.
It's gonna get really interesting. So we'll have $8,000 for each region to fight for. So
it's gonna be spicy.
Yes, and we're also you're gonna hear it here first, but we're planning on pushing the boundaries as far as what WOW Esports productions have looked like up until now. So it's something you're gonna want to tune in for.
Oh my heavens.
It's gonna be fun.
I will say, just before we move on, thank you very much for those little tidbits of the esports hints you guys have during the commentary positions.
Oh, the tips and tricks, yeah.
The tips and tricks. Those have been awesome.
Okay.
I really enjoy some of those. I actually learned a couple things from those. Twitch chat was commenting on them a couple times. That was interesting. One person thinking that they know everything, another person saying thank you because they didn't know anything. It was it's Twitch chat. All right, moving on. So the other couple things that are coming up, I have links. All this is going to be in the show notes, but there's Keystone Masters. They have a Mythic Plus tournament. So it's already been signed up. They're working the tournament realm right now for getting their time keys in, but that is going to be streamed on the 14th and the 15th of March. So keep that marked in your calendar if you want to see some dungeon runs. And over on the XP off the Twink. The Twink website, I found a 3v3 Twink level 39 Twink tournament that they got going on. So no date yet. This to be determined. But if you want to sign up for a level 39 Twink tournament on Live Realms, go check it out. Should be a good time. I'm actually looking forward to that because that Twink stuff really kind of gets me jazzed. Well, that's it for the up-and-coming stuff. Why don't we get into picking Cody's brain in our subject of analysis?
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
Let's go.
Awesome. So, since you work in the whole the esports side there over at Twitch, we thought we would bring you over here and discuss about that. I want to say first and foremost, obviously everybody. I hope everybody knows just how grandfathered Twitch is into the gaming streaming and what it was used for the esports side. I think, but before Twitch, nothing was really live streamed the same way. So I just want to kind of highlight exactly how that kind of came about. First with the Justin TV, then rebranded over into Twitch, and then Amazon taking that over a lot and kind of moving it in with Cursed Gaming and everything else, and your Amazon Prime to Twitch Prime. So I think that in itself and just that whole movement of what has happened has really helped bring gaming streaming, things that we can do on the community side. So what GCD started to do over at Twitch and whatnot, and for the longest time had some of the major companies using that platform as well. I think that's amazing. I am going to point out, though, it was kind of surprising. I know myself, I was really surprised when I saw the announcement from Activision Blizzard to move their whole esports franchises over to the YouTube streaming. Can you talk about that for a little bit? How has that affected? Or have you seen other people move over that way, or are they still sticking with Twitch as their platform for esports, for WoW Esports specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, we haven't seen, as a direct result of that particular move, too much movement. I think generally now, more so than ever in the past, are probably more viable options for places to live stream than there were, say, in 2017, right? Mm-hmm. YouTube is a major household name, right? Mixer is owned by Microsoft. So we're seeing more interest from, you know, competitors with deep pockets than we have in the past. As a result of the Blizzard deal specifically, I haven't like noticed anyone, you know, make any bets just because Blizzard did. But you know, the space is certainly a lot more crowded than I recall it being in, say, like 2015. That's for sure.
For sure. Awesome. Yeah, and I agree. Like, we saw that even before, when there's the that big announcement with Ninja moving off of Twitch to Mixer.
Right.
Like, that was really big too. So yeah, you guys are you're not playing alone in the sandbox anymore. That's for sure.
No, and I mean that keeps it interesting too, right? So to sort of clarify what I do, I work on third-party esports partnerships. So I make sure that like Method, TSM, Team Liquid broadcast on Twitch. The business development team manages our developer relationships and looks at those deals. You know, but as a WoW fan, I won't lie. I was a little brokenhearted. I'm not so much an OWL fan, not a COD fan myself. The of those leagues is not lost on me. But when I found out I was losing my AWC, I was pretty crestfallen.
Yeah, me too. Like, cause I loved watching all like the move icons and all that stuff rolling through Twitch chat. So I'm a little scared to see what Twitch chat is going to be, because Twitch chat itself was always like part of the stream kind of thing, right? So
yeah. So I talked to David, and I get the impression that players during the open brackets, or during the non-broadcasted days, will be able to stream themselves playing. So I'm hoping to, through like my relationship with folks like Method and folks over at Golden State, be able to convince the Method players and the Move players to broadcast their qualifying matches.
That's cool.
I then believe that they're allowed to broadcast the day of, but not their matches themselves, which could be hard. So I regularly pester the folks over at Method just because they're my buds, and I want to see if we can, you know, take advantage of this 24/7 channel to sort of like act as a hub for that sort of content, right? Because I just love the community, and it's growing, and I think like we're seeing a lot of through Methods events, we're seeing a lot of opportunities, right? But just because it's the Blizzard circuit, the Blizzard League, there's going to be just so much attention on it. So trying to figure out what we can do to make sure that part of that experience lives on Twitch is going to be
fair enough. Makes sense. All right.
So you work with the third-party groups, and so let's say I wanted to put on a tournament, and I reached out to you and got contact. What kind of support is offered for that production?
Yeah. I mean, it sort of depends, right? And it depends on what sort of relationship we have and how well we expect the content to perform, right? Like most of the major esports organizations, the ones that are on Twitch, like, you know, like there's a sort of sponsorship element. We sponsored the GCD events in December, for example. The way our partnerships are typically structured is if you're succeeding, we're succeeding, right? So for like a new tournament organizer with like a lot of promise who's doing really neat things, like if it makes sense for us to try and support an event by elevating the caliber of the broadcast, which I then will assume will draw more viewers in, which is like better for us, that's a bet that we're willing to make. Yeah.
And so you have the ability to showcase that this event is going on in the right places, where somebody who's, you know, involved in World of Warcraft and enjoys watching a Twitch stream while they're making dinner or things like that, you have the ability to up boost and let people know, hey, this really cool event is happening, and that's kind of your role in helping support those third-party broadcasts.
Yeah. So setting up promotion is normally like the first level. Doing sort of custom contracts, another one. So, for example, when the move was signed by Golden State, I worked with Golden State to make sure that all of their broadcasters were on the front page the day that was announced, right?
Okay.
Just because it was exciting, and we wanted to support that. Yeah.
Okay.
That was an awesome announcement too.
I will take minor, just itty bitty minor credit for that in general. I introduced Jason to Hunter, their esports efforts there at Golden State, and he was a colleague of mine moons and moons ago when we were both at CBSI. Now, like the move having been, remarkably remarkably talented and marketable players probably did about 99% of the work, but I did send that intro email.
That's right.
So
That's right. The catalyst, right?
Well, awesome.
Kick it all off.
The college friend who says, "I'm the reason why they got married."
yes, exactly, precisely. That is exactly
That's right.
100% the vibe.
Love it. So obviously, so you've talked about Method, and we know that Method is still over on Twitch, and that's where they've been doing their tournaments. That we just talked about, and then I also have the Race to World First stuff, which has been very spectacular as well. I'm just kind of curious. Like, I know there's a couple other that you got the limits, complexity limit now, right? Because they joined forces there, and GCD TV, and we just talked about also the Keystone Masters. I'm assuming they're going to be streaming on Twitch as well.
Yes.
I'm just kind of curious. Can you maybe walk us through a little bit on how that works and where you take part into helping that come into overarching fruition?
Yeah, sure. So the way my role works is, people have partnerships for a limited period of time. And as their sort of footprint online gets bigger, they, might consider their options, especially in a market like this, right? So the way this normally works is like the folks at Method, will have a candid conversation about what their next couple of years look like and what sort of support they need on the financial front to call Twitch their home, what their short-term and long-term goals are. And then we just sort of work towards building towards that and figuring out like, okay, the absolute craziest thing is like, Method has been like profoundly transformative. I've owned esports team relationships at Twitch for like 5 years. And when Method started broadcasting their first events, like it shifted the way I thought about the team business sort of generally. Method is a huge producer of content on Twitch. Most teams sort of act like a aggregate of their stars, right? Like it's like, okay, I have all of my players' content and that's my content portfolio and players will get traded and come and go. Method, they have that, and also /Method just is very frequently, 3-4 times a year, one of the biggest channels on the website, period. And now with the 24/7 channel, that's likely to be the case the entirety of the year, right? I think I tweeted like, it's not uncommon to go in. It's a Tuesday afternoon and there's 1,000 people watching /Method. Yep. Think about how many partners, 1,000 viewers is their aspiration. And Method has programming that just gets this 24 hours a day now. So working with Method to figure out the Race to World First stuff, they were on the fence about doing that for like 18 months. And then it came together, and I don't think any of them prepared for how.
No, and that was something I wanted to plug right there is like, I enjoy like checking my phone every now and then and going, oh, have they beaten the boss yet? No, okay. But when I saw the Twitch numbers, I was just blown away that there were that many people willing to actively like pursue the content that was being put out there. I mean, it's like, and they're taking such a huge risk because they're doing, their plans and their strategies are now being broadcasted out to everybody. And so there's no like holding your cards close to your chest at that point. You're really staking your claim as I'm one of the best teams in the world, and I'm going to prove it by not hiding what I'm doing.
Yeah, we really started to see that in the Gerissar lore race was really where it started. Like, it just took on a whole new level. It took on a whole new meaning, and it just like the game completely changed.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were like the #1 channel for a couple of days. #1 most World of Warcraft became one of the most viewed games during these Race to World Firsts.
Yeah, Method for the duration of the event is usually the largest channel on Twitch. In July was like nicely and sort of neatly bookended in this way. So in July of last year, Method was live for 2 weeks out of the month, only 2 weeks. Now, admittedly, they were live for 24 hours a day for those 2 weeks, but they were the second largest channel on Twitch for that entire month, right behind Overwatch League, right? Which is just sort of incredible when you think about. I mean, Method is one of the largest producers of Blizzard content on the planet, like maybe second to Blizzard, which is just sort of insane if you think about it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to point out, and this is one thing I loved about the latest Race to World First is that Method didn't do just Method stuff though. Like they were also rebroadcasting and commenting on other streams. Now I found it interesting because if I'm not mistaken, over at Complexity Limit, Max was using Twitch to do his 27 or the 26th player thing or the 21st player or whatever it was, right? Like he was using that to watch everything and then do all the shot calls.
I believe, and I could be mistaken, I actually think he had a direct line, so he was actually getting like because they were all
streamed his point of view, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He just had pre-hate's like point of view as a input on his screen and wasn't like using his stream.
Right. Okay.
Scribe would do a similar thing. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So for a second, because I wasn't sure, but from what I was looking at, it looked like it was like full video of 2 people. So I thought he was actually doing that. But okay. Well, I guess how about this then? We talked about obviously there's some big people here, but there's also some littler people. Is there any other community events that we've missed to talk about or anything like that?
I generally, let's see, Resurgent occasionally does stuff, though I haven't seen them in a while. GCD was planning on doing something in March.
Okay.
Well, they were. I mean, past tense and the true literal past tense. They decided not to, and I think that's just because Thomas had to sort of focus on AWC. I believe he contracts with Blizzard during this season.
Yeah, he does. Rip.
And then I have like plenty of tasty things in my inbox from Method. They're constantly cooking stuff up.
Cool.
Sorry.
So, yeah.
The reason you haven't heard from Resurgence is because that guy right there
It has no time anymore.
was Resurgence and is now Method.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you son of a gun. Yeah.
I've been usurped. Just
Sell out. No, I throw shade, but I'm proud of you, buddy. It just sucks that with one you don't have time to do both, and I get why. So
well, I mean, you can't have 2 tournaments running at the same time now, can you? I mean, come on, right?
The question isn't whether you could; it's whether you should.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe, yeah. Okay, I'll take it. The answer is no.
Yeah. So, actually, here's a small. I have this written down. It's just something that popped in my head. How do you guys feel about this whole like one whole weekend? 12 hours of broadcasting, going through a whole slew of tournament gameplay and watching tournaments until you get to your top 8, and then that's your championship Sunday, which still takes hours, compared to 2 hours a night or something like that over a whole week. Like how do you guys feel about that as 2 different ends of in an it seems like esports has always been like this weekend full block weekend thing versus the the tasteable chunks that you have in regular sports. What do you guys think about the differences there, and how would that look on Twitch as well?
I don't know, right? So you're seeing some of the other folks experiment with this a little bit, right? Like Riot spun up Monday Night League. I think for some reason we are just sort of auditioned for that big Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. It's just like it's become the de facto format.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it's best practices or not, like, is maybe something worth calling into question. I think one of the issues, I have no preference, right? So I will say something just so crass and devoid of nuances. Like, I ultimately am in favor of whatever gets us the most hours watched, right? So whichever of those 2 is best, someone find out and do that frequently.
Well, I would put in, and us 3 podcasters here, we got Gerissar, who is, actively in the Canadian military. We've got Andallyn, who's been able to single, and is able to devote his whole time to the game. And I still think you got a full job, right? Oh, that's right. You got
I'm
a
not
girlfriend.
single, and I do have a full-time job.
Yeah, no, but yeah,
I have
no,
two
but you
full-time
gotta.
jobs. What am I doing?
Yeah, no, and then I mean, and then you have me, who's like the married guy with kids.
Yep.
You know, I don't have a whole lot of time to sit down every night and watch an hour or so of content. But you know what I can do is on that weekend when I'm doing my household projects is I can throw on Twitch, put in my earbuds, and listen to what's going on. You know, and I think that's where the viewership is coming from, is from, you know, people who have lives that don't have all the time. And also a lot of the streamers have jobs that they have to do, and they can't devote all their time to streaming as much as they would like to. And so there's this weird amalgamation of, you know, that everything meets on the weekends.
Yeah, and I know a big thing for us too is really with peak times, right? And there's almost like a hierarchy of peak times. And that's just kind of more descriptive of what we're even just talking about. Because, you know, if we were to, like, so for instance, some of the things that, like, people will tell us is they'll tell us, like, guys, why don't you put something, like, on at this time of day? Because this is the time that I want to watch it. And, like, it's like, yeah, well, we could. But, you know, when we actually take a look at it from, like, hey, we're a Method. We're logging in and looking at our analytics, you know. We're saying, well, why didn't you just do that during peak time? You would have tripled your viewership, you know? So it's just like, you know, there's peak times during the day, which, you know, and something that we're doing right now is we're trying to push this this culture where you know that you can tune into the Method channel at 6 p.m. CET, 12 noon Eastern, or 9 a.m. Pacific, any day, every single day, and there will be live content. And that's really the best way that we can try to do it, because there's, when you're taking into so many different time zones and so many different communities scattered across the world, some are sleeping, some are partying, some are just waking up, some are at work. Like, it's constantly, so you can't please everybody. So I think that hierarchy of peak times is really it's well,
and
huge.
I would be interested to ask, what are said peak times? You know, what times do you guys see with your analytics? Because, you know, I'm a podcast guy.
Yeah.
I look down and I see, oh, there's that podcast show that I wanted to listen to, and I play it.
Well, and that's the whole
at
thing.
any
about
time I want.
It's on demand.
Yeah. But whereas
it's
streaming is not an on-demand thing, it's more of a, I have to align myself with the stream that I want to watch, and I have to try and plan that into my day. And when you have kids, that makes it very difficult. And so what are peak times that you guys see from your side of the world?
I tend to recommend, but actually I dare say that you guys might have better data, but I normally recommend early afternoon PT, right? This way you can capture most of North America is up and the Europeans haven't quite gone to sleep yet. That's what I generally recommend as a start time.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess, so here's an interesting thing. I wonder, so I think esports is probably the only thing, and sports in general is probably the only thing I think people are actually still really viably watching live. I would dare say in today's world, most people consume most content on a demand situation. I don't know many people.
See, that's actually a really good point. Continue though. I
don't know many. I don't know many people that don't record their favorite TV show and then watch it later on when they have the time to consume it when they want to. You know, or, you know, dare say pirate it off the internet and watch it when they want to. I am curious though, in comparison to the live broadcast version of sports or esports versus the recorded side. I'm hearing very often, if you know, not taking a major poll, but the people that I have talked to are saying that the VODs are actually not getting as many hits as you would expect in comparison to the live viewership.
Absolutely, and that's something that's very tough to grapple with, because the challenge right now is when you look at like sports, right? esports is included in sports. You know, if we were to, like, let's say Method was actually an English soccer club in the Barclays, all right? Like,
Oh, wow, okay.
okay, just work with me, you know, hear me out on this. So what's nice about that is 80 to 90% of our audience then would be situated in the United Kingdom or thereabouts, right? That spreads over one, maybe three possible at most time zones. So if we go and broadcast our time, we're going to hit 85% of our viewership.
Exactly.
Right? Not the case with esports. So
no, it's global.
Exactly, it's global, and because your density of viewership is so spread out across the demographics, and that's why demographics are so important now in actual statistics for live streaming, especially with esports, is because you don't have the luxury of just being able to optimize your peak time around one time. So what we have to end up doing is optimizing American content around American peak time hours, European content around European peak hours. Otherwise, you're just going to be like shooting at the wind to just see like, well, gee, all you got to do is iterate on it and just figure it out. Because at that point, it's getting so out of hand, you don't really know what you're being able to accomplish.
Exactly.
Okay. So
now we have a Twitch.
Sorry, and the last thing with that is with respect to VODs. One of the biggest things with esports now is just people don't want to watch content that's old, especially with Twitch chat. Method Black loses. Thanks, man. Yeah. So it's constant.
I do have to black myself out sometimes. Yeah, no, that's very true. I do have to like put my phone off to the side and like, okay, I want to watch the VOD later. I'm working now, but by setting it aside, I try and black myself out. If I do want to get it fresh, then it's definitely difficult to do.
Right.
Question from the Twitch chat from Queen of Murlocs. Evo, opinion on PvP gear. Does he want it to return? Yes or no? Curious.
So it's worth, I guess, contextualizing my WoW history. Classic came out when I was maybe 13, it came out right about when I was going to high school. Wow. And I was obsessed in high school, and then TBC and Arena truly sucked my freshman year of college completely out of my life. Fun fact, and I hope I don't have... I will feel bad if any of my Blizzard friends hear this, but it is what it is. Every time I go to the Blizzard campus, I have like a little bit of a flutter in my heart, because sort of my first gaming job was actually in college. I was just flipping WoW accounts. I would buy accounts from Marquee Dragon, get them the like PvP shoulders and TBC, and then sell them on eBay for like a hookup because the consumers didn't know any better. And then I took a huge break and came back for Legion, and then I've just been like obsessed again ever since. It was like no time had passed. I really liked Resilience. I liked Resilience because it came with trade-offs, and I like the sort of like chin scratching. I can do this, but it comes at a cost. Exactly. And that feels like it's sort of absent now. So I really, really liked that. Because I remember, you start to memorize names and stuff, and it'd be like TBC, and the gates would open, and you would know that this guy has insane PvE gear, but if you could live through the cooldown, you'd probably just be able to win. And then you had nice things too, like certain characters would stat differently back when like stats really mattered. I thought Legion was sort of interesting. But I do...
That template was very interesting.
Yeah. But I think I do. But there's a lot of data that I'm missing because I only Wrath. I didn't play Kata at all. I didn't play Mop at all. Warlord, I like leveled and played just a very, very little bit. So it is not a particularly informed decision, right? When you think about like all of WoW's history, but I do miss that sort of like, you know what, I'm gonna wear this trinket and I'm gonna get hit just a smidge harder. But that's a choice that I'm making.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what they were going for with the corruption. I think if it was if it had more balance within the actual abilities themselves, I think we might start of seeing more of a dynamic akin to that.
I do like the corruption just for the randomness of it, because it is very lore-ish and how it ties into the chaos that the old gods are. So that way,
Wait, this game has lore.
What's
I
that?
just PvP.
No, he's the community.
I just PvP. What?
Queen.
no, that's
Sick 'em. All right. Okay, I have a question. Actually, just going back to the whole. Let's go back to the Twitch stuff and that. Advertisements. You know, those things are annoying. I know you guys need to make money, but those things are annoying. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
And I've seen so often in Twitch chat where people are like, just 5-head and use ad blockers. Does that even... I've never even used... I actually don't use ad blockers because I know that, if I do that, I'm impacting the revenue stream of something that I'm literally not paying for. Like I'm getting free content. I mean, the least I can do is at least sit and watch an advertisement. Is there... does that even... Like, is it impactful? Like, because if I use an ad blocker, Twitch doesn't make that money, which then means that there's a possibility that Twitch would go away and impact thousands of people that are using it to make a living, right?
This is a very nuanced question. So it's most of the internet is just about things at scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're a website used by so many millions of people that millions of people using ad blocker is not that great. I also think it's very noble that you don't do that, sort of aware of the effect that it has. It's I think it comes down to, like, Twitch needs to make the ad experience as good as possible, right? Part of my job is figuring out how we pass all revenue to our creators to incentivize them to do things like run ads, right? So it's sort of like a virtuous cycle. We should create a good ad experience that the viewers don't hate, that generates money for Twitch and the broadcaster. I then should take the money that we're making and do cool programs that put money back in the, creators or cool companies doing cool things pockets, like sponsorships, things like that. That's the sort of perfect world that we live in. I think making it apparent to the viewers that, like, seeing the ad is helpful towards that is important, and something that we could maybe do a bit of better job at explaining and making more apparent.
Yeah, I know that in our recent just broadcast just this weekend, we had a variety of different ads that we were pulling from ad servers depending on where people were living, and people were getting like Doom ads, and they were like, "Wow, I just watched a Doom ad that was like really good. I would totally watch it again."
Yeah.
And so I think I definitely can see that and see some of the work that you guys are doing in that regard.
Yeah, and I mean we added picture-in-picture last year. It's a very big focus of ours, right? Because it's the most clear way to monetize like an audience at scale that's like pretty frictionless. Frictionless in the sense that, like, it doesn't actively hurt you and you don't have to participate per se. But if the experience is like just so shitty and easy to avoid that users in huge groups decide to do it, then it's something that we got to spend some time scratching our heads and trying to fix.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes sense. I mean, I remember I saw the picture-in-picture. That was really cool. Where all of a sudden, like, the screen kind of, and all of a sudden you saw the ad, and I was like, "Oh, cool. Okay, so I get the ad, but I'm still seeing what I want to watch."
Yeah.
Bonus. Much better than I remember. I think it was last year it was right before one of the AWC Cups, and I think there's like 8 ads or 5 ads or whatever, and it was like the same ad 5 times. I was like, make it stop.
Yeah, that definitely
it's like internet television. Yeah. It's like, no, not again. And then you ever get the ad that comes on the 3rd time in a row, like in back to back to back? Like,
that's exactly what it was. It was like, oh, okay, I get it. There's a new car. Stop.
Yes.
Let me get back. Anyway, okay.
The one thing that gets me is when the ad pops in at the worst possible moment. It's like, oh, they're going for the kill. They're going for the kill. Hey, come play this
That-
and look at
that
check out
ac-
this stream. And it's
that
like,
actually-
oh, gosh darn it.
That actually happened on, I think it was on Sunday. Or was it Saturday? There was an ad popped on because it was automatic rolled in, and it was like a 30-second match. And then thankfully it was like, but it was like such a fast match. It was like 30 seconds. Yeah. Like the gates opened, they clashed, ad turned on, ad stopped, and it was back to the caster talking about people being dead. Like
we had the worst thing too yesterday with the show pilot. They hadn't announced that Josh was coming, and then right when they were kind of doing like a "Who's that Pokemon" kind of thing, and they're like, "We have a special guest joining us today is Reese's Pieces is blowing." it's like no,
can't done that any better.
Oh, it was terrible. It was the worst timing.
The troll in my heart, kind of like my finger was itching to click on the run the ad break while we were doing the whole ad talk just for Twitch chat. But I didn't do it.
Oh, that'd be funny. Yeah.
I just can't. All right. Okay. Before we move on, there was an interesting thing. I want to point this back to Cody here. In talking about, we talked about a few things here, but definitely going back to the whole method in their 24-hour stream and that, and the consistent viewership, which is much more elevated than analytics have shown for many of the other channels. You made a really, albeit tongue-in-cheek, but a really interesting comment over there on Twitter, talking about how that has elevated their concurrent users or the concurrent viewers that they have, and then you made an interesting thing talking about how there's so many other streamers out there that literally like they're almost burning themselves out trying to do like 10 plus hours a day to try to get these high levels. And I think that's actually a valid conversation, because like there's some people out there like that are hurting themselves physically just trying to get a level high enough to feel like they've hit that bar that they've set themselves.
I mean, a lot of people are trying to make a living off of their streams. Yeah. And it's a very challenging thing to do. And I mean, it's so weird how, it's 1% of streams are actually sustainable of themselves. I mean, I'd be very interested to see how many like professional streamers there are that all they do are stream. I mean, not everybody's ninja, and so and there's a lot of people who want to be ninja, but there is only one ninja. So
having been doing some production stuff and kind of helping people like build their own brands now, which I've kind of been thrust into, but I've really enjoyed it, and talking with people about it. It's something that we've been talking about a lot with, saying that you don't just, a lot of people seem to think like you turn your Twitch channel on, and if you keep doing that for 3 years, then next thing you know, you'll have 1,000 viewers and it'll be great and you'll be living the dream, right? And it doesn't quite work that way. And so like what we've been trying to work with some different people is, admittedly some of the people who we sign on as method is in helping them kind of opening up the tools that helps push their brands to the next level and their individual brands, about like, well, it's more about than just turning your stream on. It's your marketing. How are you putting your name out there right now? Like, or I guess maybe back in like Soda Poppin's days, it was as simple as just being a compelling personality who turns his stream on.
You rode the wave.
Exactly.
Yeah, they rode the wave. It was that. Right. It was the wave of new technology.
Right.
Kind of going back to but
now it's all about collaboration. Collaboration and visibility and putting your name out is the path forward, no matter who you are.
I was just kind of going back to the ad comments before. Do the streamers have the ability to play the ads when they want to, or is there mandatory if you haven't played an ad in a certain amount of time that it's going to just mandatory hard ad you?
You trigger the ad yourself, right? Because we don't want it to roll over like gameplay. So you hit commercial when you want. Some folks that through like a relationship with the team have to show a certain amount of ads per hour. Some folks are just
Okay.
like, fuck it, I can't be trusted to do this myself. I'm good at playing video games, and they like will automate it. But the sort of core functionality is like I hit the commercial button, the commercial runs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is
We
actually
have
the
to watch our
streamers that I
numbers,
need. So it's not Twitch's fault. It is actively the streamer's fault.
Yes.
Yeah, when you land on a stream, you serve a pre-roll. And then any
understand.
mid-roll that you see, like the streamer, provided there's no sort of bug or something weird afoot, the streamer should have hit the commercial button themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So those times that I am in the middle of that match and all of a sudden I see an ad roll, I'm not actually mad at Twitch. I should be directing my rage and anger and frustration at the person who is pushing the button, who is probably not Twitch related.
Andallyn.
Most
Potentially.
cases, yeah.
Potentially. We also,
Andallyn, yes.
We also it goes to someone else. Gosh. I'm not gonna be able to get out of this.
I was pointing the wrong way.
Yeah, we run automated too, so like when we're not running our live content, it's just running on an automation.
I want to, and Cody. So this whole thing, this conversation, though, you had a funny idea about bringing in an AI to do streaming for people, right?
Yeah, I mean the way the streaming business works is like your average CCU times the number of hours you broadcast gives you what's called like an hour's wash. And that's really what all the platforms are, it's a cold hard stat, but it's like sort of high level. That's how you determine the strength of a channel.
Okay.
Now, the way you increase those are by increasing your CCU or increasing your time watched, right? So I was doing some napkin math on Twitter. And again, this was like very tongue in cheek. The ratio tends to be about like, if you could just get a robot that goes like 24 hours a day that broadcasts to 1,000 people, that would yield the same number of hours watched that a robot or a normal human broadcasting 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, which is what some broadcasters do, to 3,500.
Okay.
Right. So as we enter the sort of platform or era where YouTube and Facebook and Mixer and Twitch are all vying for these eyes, like it might be a viable business for you to create a AI broadcaster that only needs to be about 1/3 as entertaining as you to yield the same number of hours watched. You read about all these agents repping these huge Twitch broadcasters. Who's going to be the first AI agent? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What kind of robot do you want me to code for you today? I'll spin it up. 1,000 viewers. He'll never sleep. He'll never complain. Now, that's like dark and grim. And what I actually mean is, I think like we need to figure out how
warlock. To. That's what I want. I want
Latino
a spicy
warlock.
Latino warlock. Yeah.
Until the AI becomes sentient and takes over your world.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, we really need to
stream.
figure out how to make it more viable for sort of that middle class of broadcaster, right? So you don't need a huge breakout moment, and it doesn't become this sort of like cold numbers game. Otherwise, again, like just a robot that's like 1/3 as funny as you that never needs to sleep is gonna win, which is a world that I'm in the short term not keen on living in.
Okay. I do think though it brings up a good point of, again, I could see some time where automation would definitely be needed for several people, just for their own sanity and, like I said, their physical well-being. Because I'm seriously concerned about some people where, especially if they're doing a day job to be able to feed themselves, and then they're spending another like 8 hours a day playing a video game, which is not healthy. And yeah, it's just I worry about some people. So, although chances are the person that's doing a job and streaming can't probably afford an AI to be able to do that for them too. So,
not yet.
No, I mean, so I think I saw Co Carnage earlier in the week, who used to take great pride in the fact that he just broadcast every day and had for years. Announced that he's like, hey, I'm taking this day off. I'll do a reruns. And I'm so, and not to diminish the incredible accomplishment that marathon was, but I'm like so happy to see that was the case, right? Because like,
yeah,
people need to be able to live their lives.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was very happy to see that made that decision. Again, not to discredit the incredible accomplishment and dedication he showed to his community, but he said, "Hey, I'm gonna help out my partner during this time. We're gonna show some reruns. It'll allow me to accomplish some things during the day." That healthy balance is really great. Like that needs to be, I think, a focus of creators and a focus of Twitch too. Is like how we make viable like a normal full-time workload. So you're just not frying yourself to a crisp, just constantly obsessed with your numbers, never go offline, terrified of missing a broadcast day. That needs to be like a focus if our industry is really going to be sustainable.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, I think that kind of brings in a good tie-in for one thing you would change. I think that would be... So I'm going to take this one because I feel like it. So this is at that time where normally we would say in the World of Warcraft, if you could talk to, I don't know, JL and Brack and make a viable change in the game, what would you say? And he would do it, no holds barred. But I think since we've been talking about Twitch Esports and that, I guess let's bring it into this. So if you could change one thing about Twitch WOW Esports, what is one thing you would change?
That's a toughie. Like more so than usual.
Didn't I kind of already give my answer on this when we had D Machine on?
Say it again then.
Okay. I mean, one thing you would change about the World of Warcraft esports is that obviously I would be broadcasting it. I mean, you want to change, it's going to just take it to the next level and make it that much better.
I expect nothing less.
The pride and arrogance exhibited by Windstead, of course. I mean, guys.
There you go.
How about you, Gerissar? Gerissar, what would be the one thing you would change?
I wish that there was a repository. So if I wanted to, because the way, and it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of a fault of the streamers. They, with all these tags and everything, they have an issue. They seem to be, they don't use the proper tag, so it's really hard to discern when you're looking through the list of what is currently playing. But even if that, I would love to have a section that's just esports. So I would love to be able to open up and not have to go into a channel, like, let's say like Method Channel, and slew through thousands of hours of Race to World First just to get to the tournament that I wanted to watch, especially in the video the VOD content. I wish that there was like a way that I could, I could filter out and just have a repository of esports that I want to see.
I think that would be Andallyn's job. I mean, you're now running that, man. Can't you cut up videos? And
but that's one small piece. I wish there was something in, like, at the server level where they were able to take all that stuff and I could actually go and just go
kind of
to
like
WOW
hashtags
Esports.
for Twitter, just hashtag WOW PvP, and then Twitch would reach out and grab everything with that hashtag and compile it into one area based by date or something like that.
Kind of like that, like I said, but not user needed, because apparently the users, the people that are streaming aren't doing it. I wish that the system itself would aggregate that for me. So realize,
like with a hashtag system.
No. So by hashtag system, I'm thinking you mean that where people are tagging those videos for that specific thing. I'm talking where the system is able to recognize when it's WOW Esports, I don't know, based on video coding or based on the scene that is where you have the bars on the side and it's arena stuff, but the system automatically puts that into repository, so I can just go, I want to see WOW Esports, and boom, here's a video. Here's a list of all the VODs of all the esports.
So you want sexy Latina AI Warlock to go ahead and just do it for you, behind the scenes, and then
and possibly voice over Zico's raspy voice with sexy Latino also.
The Black Lizard. Yes.
Had to do that. Had to do
wonderful.
it. All right.
How about you, Kobe?
I have like, I think it's got to be easier. We got to work on discoverability sort of generally. It's so hard to find channels that aren't already very popular, and the the responsibility of the viewer to like sort of dig deep in the directory is tough, right? I occasionally will do it, and I'll go through that exercise, and I will find someone who's just insane. Like it'll be some 2700 player that like you've seen on other people's streams, but haven't like bothered to tune in themselves, and they're just playing out of their mind, broadcasting to like 5 people.
Yep.
I love this sort of no cam, no voice, 2v2 stream with just music, right?
Okay.
I'm figuring like when people are just playing insane and you just get to like watch that excellence, that's so sick, but it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Yeah.
Okay. Better searchability. Okay. Andallyn.
All right. You ready for this?
All the time in the world, buddy. Your turn.
All right. So here's the one thing I would change. I would say Twitch is going to put in some kind of system where I can have my players stream elements, not stream elements, stream elements such as like their webcam feed, right? To maybe like a sub feed that was owned by our method channel, right? To where I could then nest a sub feed onto the broadcast. So for instance, like, what we could then do is we could you could allow almost like what they allowed with like the command center in the old OWL. What was it, 2 years ago? Or was it a year ago? Where you could, if you paid the $14.99 or whatever, you could access the command center and you could watch, from, you would get the webcam inputs of all the different players and all that stuff. I thought that was phenomenal. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, I think that was 2 years ago.
I would love to see more stuff like that.
That'd be cool.
I was talking to Christian the other day, and he poked about just this, and it's
really good, man.
Not a technical impossibility.
Yeah.
For us to rethink about that product and sort of
we need to talk.
yeah. Because I was expecting just like a hard no, and I got that's kind of interesting when I asked. I did it like as a favor, one of those things like one of your partners asked you to do something, you do it just to say you could do it. Sure. I was 100% expecting them to be like, get out of my face, and they were like, not strictly impossible, and I was like, ooh, okay.
We may have hit a nail.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with scratching to see what comes up underneath the paint.
Yes.
All right.
Hopefully it's not lead based.
Just don't breathe in. All right. Okay. I think we pretty much spent everything we can on picking Cody's brain, but why don't we roll into the PvP news that has happened in the last 2 weeks?
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
Yeah, so let's see. What do we got here, Gerissar?
Oh my. Well, we kind of already talked about it, but let's talk about it again.
Yeah.
So there was the two method tournaments that happened. The week one for NA happened on the 22nd of February. So congratulations to the boys for winning that one. I want to do an honorable mention shout out to RSG and Sophie King Sick. Those guys played insane and truly like some up and comers. There's some really good up and coming gameplay in that tournament. So quick shout out to that. And then just last weekend, again, the EU week one ended with Wildcard Gaming taking that one quite decidedly. I'll say they stayed on the top and just powered anybody that they came up against. They knocked them right out. I will do just to our friends over at WOW Esports. They picked up 2 teams on NA and EU on both of those, and the Diablos Red, they did pretty good. I was really surprised, especially bringing in a new player and going right into a tournament when they weren't used to really playing together. They did pretty good. I was really excited about that. So
yeah, that was Zach
excited.
Zach and a couple of the Australian
Acrolals.
Yeah, Acrolals. So yeah.
Yep. So I'm really excited to see these esports teams coming up and picking up more, or esports organizations picking up more teams. So that's pretty good.
Absolutely.
So quick, well, actually not so quick. The the hot fixes. So a bunch of hot fixes came through in the last couple of weeks. Most of them were PvE, except for a large chunk that hit. I think it was on the 24th. Yeah, and 25th. There's a whole bunch of PvP stuff that hit. So that's where there was an actual. I think this is the first time we've seen class tuning since the previous raid tier, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's been months. So Resto Druids, they got a slight shift in their mana and costs for some of their spells. And that was more to adjust on the raid side without impacting in arena. This one surprised me. So Marksman, Frost Mage, and Windwalkers all got a flat 5% buff. And I think it was like the day before it went live, they adjusted it so that it didn't change in PvP. I was like,
Really?
Yeah.
That's odd.
I actually picked up my Windwalker and I started and then I found out about it. I'm like, no, back on the shelf. Not all.
Yeah,
not doing
it
all.
would have. They're already gods of arena. That 5% would have been
Right.
just
like-
log out. Just log out if you. The gate's open and you see a Windwalker and there's not one on your team. Just leave the game if that patch or that fix went through.
Yeah,
Oh my
GG.
gosh, I was so looking forward to it. That's the thing. Anyway,
Song of GG. Yes.
sorry, two other. So Demo Warlocks and Enhancement Shaman also got a flat DPS increase as well. So that was pretty interesting. The other side to it, there is some nerfs over on the actual PvP side. So DKs, their Death Strikes got nerfed, both in how much they heal for, and no matter what is how much they heal for. It didn't change the damage done, but it was the comparison of the damage that was taken before they did it, and then also in comparison to maximum health was nerfed pretty good. Mages, their absorb shields got nerfed, which was thank goodness.
Yeah.
And then Warlocks, our demon armor got nerfed. So we're no longer wearing, having cloth armor that works like plate armor, but now it's more like mail-ish. I was a little sad about that. I was really enjoying being able to stand in the middle of the arena and just like have somebody beat on me, and the druid hots would just keep me carried.
Yeah. You had your I mean, it was a long period at the top, right? Solid like 12, 15 months where you were effectively raid bosses in arena. So
yeah, I enjoyed being a cloth tank.
yes.
I actually remember it was back in Classic, back in Vanilla. I was talking to a friend. We were both Warlocks, and I was saying how I wish that we could have a chance to be able to be like actual cloth tanks and be able to tank things. Apparently, this was the X pack. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure. Was it? So it's interesting because out of all of that, I haven't heard anything change in the actual meta yet. I didn't see any. I mean, obviously these changes were too soon for the tournaments. We may see something in the up and coming tournaments, but have you guys seen anything in actual arena or PvP where now you're seeing, the Warlocks falling faster or mages, or any of that stuff actually taking effect yet, or is it still too early?
I think it's still too early. I mean, it's pretty early in the season, kind of floating low, like around the 2000s. The season feels kind of squished, though. But I haven't noticed it, but I'm looking forward to seeing like the tournament data. I think like Rogue Mage, Paladin will probably be really, really strong. But we will just sort of have to see. A lot of the tend to think that it should push things towards a maybe just melee cleave generally. Even with the DK nerfs, like Method Orange is still just spamming melee cleave games, and it seems like most of the high tier teams that they're queuing into are also melee cleaves.
Yeah.
So we will have to see.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I think it's a bummer that like if you isolate a spec like Affliction Lock or something like that, something that's already been irrelevant, literally irrelevant for a year, is now nerfed even
Longer
further.
than a year.
Longer than a year. Yeah.
It's been unplayable in PvP the entire expansion.
Yeah, the entire X-Pack is now nerfed even further because they have to balance Destro. Like, it's just like, woof, man. I hate to see it. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Warlock play at granted the 1200 level, and they can actually get some pretty good stuff done. I guess it's just at the higher level they're less. I think they have to work so hard to get their damage across that's if you have a choice between a Destro lock that just has to push a couple buttons and get some big damage versus an AF lock that has to do a bunch of work.
Yeah.
Right.
It had the cheeky like very early on. It had the cheeky sort of one shot. When you had the Drain Soul Azerite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Destro is just so strong, and you have like 3 buttons, so many schools, right? You kick me on fear, I'm chaos bolting you.
Right, but it's not like it's in a vacuum though, too. Like even if Destro wasn't strong, Affliction still wouldn't be playable. Like you just wouldn't see Warlocks. Like
yes,
I think you might, with the changes to Demo, I think you might see Demo a bit more viable.
Possibly, if you saw one, it'd be Demo.
Yeah, so, but I think right now everybody's so used to playing Destro. Like, why would I switch over from Destro to Demo when I have all the gear, I have all the Azerite trades, I have all to make this work really well.
Right. Exactly.
Why would I switch specs to something that then I have to go through a whole gearing process?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My point is, I hate to see a class that was already irrelevant become more relevant. It's almost like an admission of we know. But it's just the way it is. It's an admission admission of complacence.
I mean, if anything,
is what I'll leave it
if
at.
anything that BFA has established is that Blizzard is struggling to balance things.
Well, yeah, I think they're having a little game time. I think this last patch has been more of a experiment, see how things go, see how crazy things can get without breaking the game, and we'll see what happens.
For a balance. That's what BFA is.
Yeah. Battle for balance. Right. So last couple things I have listed here. Just as a reminder, the WOW Esports are now open for signups. Both the MDI and the AWC. All that's being hosted through Battlefy. There's a blog post that went up on the official World of Warcraft website, which then you can link over. And if you want, get yourself some friends, sign up. As long as your accounts are within good standing, you should be able to get over to the tournament realm and have some fun. So, and we're also starting to see indications of the Shadowlands Alpha. There's been a bunch of news articles. Yes. There's the encrypted patches that have been coming through that Wowhead has been talking about amongst other news sites. I just want to point out, just stay tuned over at the Warcraft Radio channel for alpha and or beta content when we get access. Just saying that. Not just us, but also all the rest of the people that work so hard over at the Warcraft Radio channel. So
they actually did put out the there is a website now that you can go and sign up for Shadowlands beta.
Yes.
So go hunt that down, and you can opt in to be specifically chosen for Shadowlands beta. I've done it on both my wife's and my account. So
watch your wife get it and not you. That'd be kind of funny.
Oh, wow. My account just suddenly got beta. Honey, look, you're for some reason. Why are all your characters named Windstead? That's so odd.
Hey, Windstead, why aren't you gaming anymore? Why is your wife always
yeah. Why is my wife always on? Well,
yeah. All right. Too funny. All right. Let's speaking of shouting out to your wife when she gets beta and not you, does anybody else have any shout outs that they want to put out?
I would like to shout out all our wonderful supporters from Warcraft Radio and all the wonderful Patreon sponsors that support us there. For all of
Indeed.
you, all I can do is turn this moment over to Windstallin.
Oh
Windstallin.
gosh.
Spasiba.
I'm so glad that works on video, not so great on podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, spasiba.
Plasiba. All right. Cody, do you have any shout out?
I'd like to thank all of my fantastic colleagues at Twitch, particularly the folks from Sandlot, a excellent sort of my group of besties that I hang out with all the time in there. I'd like to thank the greater WoW community. I have the sort of honor and I'm regularly reminded of how lucky I am that I get to work on esports stuff all of the time. But WoW is, my home. When I'm off the clock, I really don't watch other esports aside from WoW, and I love this little community. Shout outs in particular to Born Good, SSDS, Mez, and I'm sure there's a handful of that I'm playing with fairly regularly that I forget. Sam, my little Sam I am has grown up so much in the last couple of years. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/evoli, where I post about WoW and politics and make a lot of I'm a surrealist tweeter is what I call them. So and thank you all for having me. I appreciate that too.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
All right, Andallyn. Anything?
I'm gonna shout out to all the good folks over at the Method team for just a warm welcome. It's been a pleasure working with everybody over there, and I'm really excited about everything that the future's got in store. So, shout out to everyone over there.
Nice. Thanks. And I want to give again a quick shout out to Zen for switching over to his feral druid and carrying me so hard in twos.
Nice.
Really appreciate it. That was fun. All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers everything that we have been talking about here. I guess quickly, I don't know, Andallyn or Windstead, could one of you guys maybe list off to our listeners where they can reach us?
Sure. You can visit the Warcraft Radio website to find us and many other great shows at warcraftradio.com.
You can also contact us directly with a tweet at technically_PvP or an email at technicallypvp@gmail.com.
Indeed. Or you can contact us directly with a tweet at technically_PvP or an email over at technicallypvp@gmail.com.
Is there an echo in here?
And you can also join our discussions over the Warcraft Radio Discord. So links for all that and more is going to be in our show notes. Thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.
Take care.
Farewell.